Joining me now, as he does each and every week, is Sky News Australia's media watchdog columnist, Gerard Henderson. Gerard, thank you so much for joining us. Now, this grab that we've got here from this Bridget Brennan interview, yes. I could not believe this when you've highlighted this to me. Let's have a listen.
A real sleeper, and there's going to be more and more and more of it.
Allegra Spender speaking out against it, I think she's been quite strong. So perhaps the influence of the independents will be strong on these issues, but they certainly want broad-scale financial and tax reform.
Gerard, Bridget Brennan thinks Allegra Spender has been quite strong. That shocked me. That's so unlike the ABC to give that sort of a plug.
Give it a plug to the Teals, whoever would have thought so. But of course, as you know, when Parliament resumes in July, late July, she'll have one seat out of 150. And Bridget Brennan saying, watch her. I mean, the Teals weren't important in the last Parliament, not in the reps. They're not in the Senate. They weren't important in the reps because they never got into minority government. And this time Labor's got a majority of over 40. So the idea that Prime Minister Albanese is going to be looking around to the Teals to hear what they want to say on tax or super is just ludicrous. But Bridget Brennan couldn't help herself. She had to sort of give them a plug somehow, so she managed to get it in, which is quite an achievement, really.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, the ABC is always talking about diversity, targets, etc. And I think to a degree that's a noble pursuit, but there's not much diversity of opinion there. And you get the same people, the same voices. They're all centre-left, progressive voices.
It's a lack of viewpoint diversity. They've got all these other diversities. They're replete with them. But viewpoint diversity is the one issue that the new chairman, Kim Williams, never addresses, has not addressed. He's addressed other issues, but not that. The new managing director hasn't said much at all yet. But, I mean, it's the case where the staff run the joint and they're all on the left, basically. And if they're not, they don't tell anyone.
Well, another person who meets that is Ben Hart, who's a journalist.
Yes.
And we've got a very interesting grab about Joe Biden, where he's kind of made some realisations. Let's have a listen.
Then I think you've had collectively from both sides of politics, Democrats and Republicans going, wait a minute, and then you've had even a Democrat advisor, one who was a senior advisor during COVID, who's also an oncologist, saying, oh yeah, he had it for 7 years. So I think it's the whole conversation's really turned, and now there's a really serious conversation in America. Did he have it from the start, you know? And this is not just the Fox News cranks. This is like across the political spectrum, really serious questions about, you know, what looks like conspiracy.
So Ben Hart, he's a former journalist from The Age. He runs his own agency now. You can see how some of these people think about ideas. They don't consider something on first principles or on the merit of evidence. For example, Joe Biden, just looking at him and listening to him, it was quite obvious he was cognitively impaired. He needs the Democrats and he needs both sides to admit it. Otherwise, it doesn't exist. And a few quips in there about Fox News and cranks, etc. What do you make of this?
Well, he goes to Jack Taper, but at the time, that CNN journalist, he denied it. He's now apologised for denying it. But it's believing what you want to believe. Journalists on the left didn't want to believe that Biden had serious medical problems. Anyone who watched Sky News in Australia or Fox News in the United States knew it because they saw the clippings. But if you watch the ABC, you wouldn't know it because they didn't play the clippings. And then, so what he says is, well, it's, you know, we don't rely on Fox News, or how he describes Fox News as cranks. But if he'd listened to the cranks, he'd be better informed than listening to his mates.
Yeah, I'd rather be a crank if it means I'm correct. Moving on, though, we've got a quick grab from Sally Sara. Let's have a listen.
Niku, welcome to Radio National Breakfast.
Good morning. Good morning, Australia. And I'm very happy to report we had a similar result to what you had. We have a rejection of the far right in Romania.
And what do you make of these results?
Yeah, so one of the things that makes me actually quite angry about this is, and I spoke earlier on the show, I think Donald Trump was very wrong to use the word genocide to discuss what's happening in South Africa. Doesn't meet the threshold. Far right has very specific connotations. It's people that think that the disabled should be culled. It's this racial superiority viewpoint. It's not somebody that maybe is uncomfortable with slightly high levels of immigration. And they are perverting that concept to associate it to anybody who's centre-right. I think it's reprehensible.
Well, it is, and particularly it has a certain connotation in Central Europe as well, because of the history of that part of the world. But George Simeon, I mean, he wants to invade Moldova. He wants to take it over for Romania. He wants to invade parts of Ukraine. So if you're going to say that's far right, then Peter Dutton should be talking about invading New Zealand or part of Papua New Guinea. I mean, these comments are just ludicrous. And I can understand why a Romanian member of the European Parliament who's on the left might say this, but Sally Sara has a right to correct it or to challenge it.
Well, she has an obligation.
Well, an obligation, yeah, I agree with that. But she doesn't. So people think, oh, well, I mean, this extremist in Romania is just like Peter Dutton. Well, that's just woefully false. If you look at the last election, there wasn't a great deal between the parties and policy at any rate. I mean, there was no far-right candidate, unless you want to believe what you want to believe, which is Sally Sara does, which is to somehow equate Peter Dutton with the far right, but he's nothing like the far right.
It should be offensive to anybody that knows anything about what historical far-right parties have done and where that word needs to be reserved. Gerard Henderson, thank you so much for your insight and your analysis, as always.